Hello, everyone. This is Political Chit Chat, and I'm your host, Gonzalo Duran. Today's honored guest is Diane Anderson from Meet Me at the Crossroads. She's one of my favorite advocates. Diane, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So, I know you have an event that, or you know what, before we get into the event, would you tell us a little bit for the audience that may not know who you are?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Diane Anderson, and I founded Meet Me at the Crossroads in 2016 because I had a love for youth and for veterans. As you know, the youth are in dire need of help, and also the veterans don't receive the services that they so much deserve. So this organization is geared towards advocating for them.
Perfect. Now, is there any updates that you have going on with Meet Me at the Crossroads?
Absolutely. We're very excited about our next Saturday community feeding event. We know that a lot of veterans are homeless, some have food insecurity, and we are having a day where we're going to treat them as kings and queens. The event is completely free from 2 to 5, and we just want to welcome them into an atmosphere that's filled with love, compassion, dignity, and honor. We're going to have some wonderful food. We're going to have some paneer, baked chicken, yellow rice, potato salad. You know, are you licking your fingers yet? It's going to be awesome. So we just are looking forward to a blessed day. And we're also going to have ministers there to pray with people because they're going through a lot of emotional trauma. So we're going to have people to address that also and be able to comfort them emotionally.
Well, as a veteran, I thank you so much for the service that you're providing to other
Yes.
veterans. So for the audience that may not know, there's about 120,000 or so veterans in New York City. There are, our homeless population isn't too high, but, one is too many, in my opinion.
That's right.
Luckily in New York, we have gone down in majority of unemployment, housing insecurities, but there's still a lot of things going on,
Yes.
such as homelessness, hunger, etc. And the way the world is right now, it's not an easy thing.
That's right.
So organizations coming out to help is always a blessing.
Yes.
Now you mentioned a bunch of delicious food there.
Yes.
You had the ministry that's popping up as well. Do you plan to have any organizations there, or is it just more for the let's say the pantry?
Well, you used the word pantry. This is more like a sit-down dinner. It's not. I say it's not a styrofoam takeout. We have decorations. They're going to actually come and be served.
Okay, so
Yes.
family style setting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we're going to have live worship music there to
Beautiful.
set the atmosphere.
Beautiful.
So I'm looking forward to that. And we also have takeaway bags for them that are filled with goodies and things that they can take with them.
So now, where did the title "the Water Walkers" come from?
I'm glad you asked. Water Walkers was a name that God gave me because this vision came to me in 1 month. And so if you know the story in the Bible of Jesus telling Peter to just keep his eyes on him and keep walking and then don't worry about the circumstances, it's going to work. Because people are saying a month is too short. But God has brought this thing together and brought the supporters that are needed. And we have everything that we need right now. So it's blessed.
Glad to hear that. For the audience, again, this event, the Water Workers Free Food event, is on Saturday, October 11th,
Yes.
and it's from 2 to 5 p.m. The location is 14 West 170th Street in the Bronx. We hope that you guys come. If for any reason you can feel to give your contact information. So
Absolutely. I can be reached at 347-340-1313, or you can also email me at dmjred@yahoo.com. We're still looking for people to volunteer, and we're looking if you know how to cook and you want to bring a plate of food, we'll welcome you to do that also.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, I love the tagline, "If you love me, feed my sheep."
Yes.
Beautiful, I love that.
That's right.
Well, now this is a great program. I've been privileged to be a part, working with you,
Yes.
and being a part of your events and seeing your growth as well. Would you give a little bit more about your background? Because I know you have quite a wall collection of certificates and awards and stuff like that. Would you
Yes.
mind?
Well, I'm a recent graduate with a 4.0 GPA from Grand Canyon University. I also have a master's in business administration. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have certificates in PTSD and trauma and a life coach. And I'm always open to learn more and more. I'm a avid learner.
Now, one of the programs that I love that we did was the ROTC and the PTSD,
Oh,
so
that was
that they can
awesome.
understand, they get an idea of what the military is about, but sometimes they don't understand the intricate parts of the military. And unless you're in that lifestyle or within that family structure,
Right.
it's something that is missed on a larger scale than I think it should be. But for me, even when I do my Christmas or my toy giveaway programs,
Yes.
I try to sit down with the veterans or the children, the youth, and try to show them what a veteran is. Because
Yes.
the old time mentality is that where I'm a old man in a cane walking around talking about my war stories.
That's
When
right.
in the end of the day, there's people younger than me that are veterans.
That's
nowadays.
right.
You can walk by a college student or the guy from bagging your groceries to the
That's
Wall
very
Street
true.
guy and that you're passing on Fifth Avenue or something like that.
Yes.
So it's I try to open that, and it's always been a pleasure for you to help out.
Yes.
And any way that we can help, I hope this message gets out there to the people that
Absolutely.
there's an organization that's dedicated with someone who's advocating for them.
Yes.
And you're not a veteran, but you're part of a veteran family, correct?
Yes. I consider myself an honorary vet because I've been so involved, and mainly I work with the vets at the Kingsbridge VA Hospital. But even from a little girl, my father was a military man, and he fought in the Korean War. And as a little girl, I didn't understand what he was going through. But as a woman, now I can see the trauma that he experienced, that he became an alcoholic. There weren't any adjustment counselors and things like that back then to help him process of being reacclimated into, civilian life when he came home. And so the stresses got too much. And so it's a need that when veterans come home, that they have something to look forward to, and they know there's hope, that they're not just going to be discarded and forgotten about for all they gave.
Now, speaking about needs that are out there for the veteran community, over your time with your organization, you've provided different services
Yes.
and different programs over there. Would you mind talking about a few of them?
Well, the main thing is just the ministry of presence and going with them to different events and being there for them. I would also like to mention my brother because he's the one that got me really connected with the hospital. I would go with him back and forth, and recently, I say recently because it feels like that, but it's been 2 years now that he was affected by the Camp Lejeune waters and we lost him. But that was a major loss, but it made me even more, fervent about helping the veterans that are in need.
Beautiful. And obviously my condolences for
Yes.
that. I remember when you brought that up. And I think last year was an award ceremony that we did for.
Yes,
him.
it was.
We did a Prosperous Award for his service, and you went up there and
Thank you
told
so
his
much
story.
for that.
For me in particular, one of the reasons why we try to capture stories like that is because the veterans, once again, the mentality of what a veteran is. I think we're at a situation in our country that we have to remember that the heroes are out there, and we lose sight of that. But how did we get there? Where
Right.
did it come from? Who are those people? There's the ones that luckily in the United States we have 3 days to remember our active duty, our veterans,
That's right.
and the ones that are currently serving. The ones that are veterans, the ones currently serving, and those that we have lost.
Yes.
We have those 3 days to celebrate more and whatnot. In its totality, it's organizations like yours, individual like you, that give us hope to remind us that
Yes.
we're cared out there. Because coming from, let's say, the Vietnam area, where veterans
Yes.
weren't as coming back home as feeling the love.
Yes.
The Buccaneers and Tuskegee Airmen that were they're lost in history, and now we're coming back and trying to make sure that they're known in history.
Yes.
Something like this, I can't wait to be there.
Yes.
Because when you're sitting down, you don't know if you're going to hear the war stories or you're going to hear
That's
the
right.
good stories or the bad stories or what's going to come.
Yes.
But when you're sitting down with food, I think it's one of the best opportunities to open up and get those
Absolutely.
stuff out
And
there.
that atmosphere.
And then you throw the ministry out there, and even better.
That's right.
So, if you don't mind me touching, because I know you have written books.
Yes,
correct?
I have.
Would you mind talking about those books? To be honest, I'm an avid reader, but I haven't read your books
Okay.
yet. So, just be clear, I will be getting a book soon, so I
Yes.
can get it.
Well, the first one is called Meeting Mr. Right After Several Mr. Wrongs. And that is connected with just teaching young women and young men that what they desire sometimes is not always what they need, and how we fall into relationships that can be toxic and unhealthy. And so it's a chapter by chapter of me being transparent and telling from my first love to my husband, whom I have been married to for 20 years now.
God bless.
Yes, but it's a far cry from what I thought I wanted at 17. That's when you think you want the money and the car and, all of this. And then you realize what you really need is someone who's going to be loyal and love you and pray for you, and be by your side. So that's what that book is about. The other one is when your greatest weakness becomes your greatest strength in the kingdom. And I wrote that because I was a person who was bombarded with fear. I would never dream that I can even sit here and talk to you right now, because that was one of my fears, speaking in front of people. But as I began to get closer to God and trust in Him, He made that my strength. And so now I can speak, And so I just,
Amen. Amen.
encourage people that if it's an area at your weekend, trust God and He's going to strengthen it.
Those sounds like two books that I need to
Yeah.
get a hold of soon. So my reviews of the books will be coming out shortly.
Yes.
You mentioned I guess the introverts, I would say.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people are surprised because they see me doing speeches and on television and all this, but I'm actually a pretty shy introvert. You know me personally, so you know
Yes.
how I'm. Most people don't even know that I'm on television or do journalism or politics or
Yes.
nonprofit work. They just see, oh, that's that guy. I've
That's
never even
right.
heard him say more than 10 words. And then they see this part. So, I
Yes.
completely understand. And I look forward to getting my hand on that book.
Yes.
But normally when I do my reviews, I request autographed on
Oh,
it.
you got it.
Perfect. Perfect.
For sure.
Oh, well, that being said, is there any other programs that you've done in the past that you'd like to highlight? I mean, I love listening to the past things so that we can try to get people to understand the whole picture of you.
Well, I would like to talk about my secular job because I think that's really important to society. I work with 16 to 27-year-olds that are in an alternative to incarceration program. And so I use my ministry and everything in that area also to show them that there's another way, because most of them come into us feeling that the streets and hustling is the only way to make money. And they're caught in a cycle of going back into prison and coming out. So the judge sends them to me so I can pour into them and speak life. And so I can consider that a great honor. And I was recently promoted to the supervisor of my department, so now I can make an even greater impact in their lives.
Beautiful. Now, obviously, we can't go into much in the
That's right.
information of the children, but for the programs, I've worked with at-risk teens. One of my
Yes.
mentorship programs. I have maybe anywhere between 2 to 4 students that I mentor every 8 weeks or so.
Yes.
They get to see me, maybe interview a senator or host a show or,
That's
in
awesome.
some capacity.
Yes.
And I try to give them credits, and for me, it's a whole aspect of it. At the last intern, we did a professional headshot, did an article,
Yes.
and gave an explanation of their views of how the workforce is maybe sometimes hurting them, but how they can grow to do something. She was named Star Miles. She's an artist. So, we plugged in her social media where she does her artwork. So she
Awesome.
can try to sell it. So that's, trying to always think of something that tangible that we can try to get for them.
Absolutely.
But, it's not easy because, teens, aren't the easiest to work with.
That's right.
And then, they don't see the whole picture.
Yeah.
But I always think, if somebody gave me this opportunity, and I know they're looking at you right now, and they're saying, they'll say it in the future, they may not say it right now, but
Yes.
if they understood that the individual standing in front of them is trying to give them the opportunities that maybe we didn't have,
Yes.
it would save so much time. But
Yes.
you know, I think eventually one day we'll get a perfect system. When we get there, you know, we'll be
Yes.
there. But until then,
We're
you
doing the
know,
best we can for now.
thank you for the work that
Yes.
you're doing with the youth and with the, you know, the veterans.
Yes.
And then putting the books out there so that, you know, guys like me can figure out what we need to do right is another
Yes.
great thing. Is there anything that we haven't touched that from the past work that you've done that you would like to hit on?
Just mainly the need for the female veterans.
Okay.
I've been really working with them more because at first it was just the guys, but the women have such a need and they still feel that they're not receiving the same equitable services. And so that's my target right now with thinking of starting a female veterans club, and I'm getting a lot of people that are saying that they would support it, you know, the veterans, and they need it. And it's going to be something where we want to go on trips together, nail salon, spa, things to get their mind off of their troubles, you know, because some of them are injured veterans. So when you talk about seeing veterans on the street, you never think of the old lady being a veteran,
Yes,
you know?
Yes.
That doesn't cross your mind, but that's someone that was, I see engineers, you know, that used to be in the military, colonels, and you don't think that, you know? So just pumping up the women veterans more is the focus.
You know, my last 2 years was in a recruiting station, and you know, honestly, I didn't think that too much of it because I grew my military career with women either as superiors or working side by side for me. So I never really thought about that. But when I got in the recruiting field, I realized, you know, service people are 1% of the population. Females are 1%, if that, in the service population.
Yes.
So you know, they're and again, where you know there may be 20 guys in the front of the VA, the Bronx VA,
Yes.
and one, you know, let's say a 22-year-old woman would walk by, and I was like, oh, you must be a counselor or something.
Right.
No, she's a veteran too.
That's right.
You know, she got in at 18, left at 21, is
Yes.
going to school, and she needs her medical care.
That's
you know?
right.
So it's something that you know, I since I've been working with the veteran field, since getting out myself, you know, I've never really crossed that path. But you know, you know, there will be times where I'm shocked as well because
Yes.
you know, you would think the average, let's say, a Marine is just a big buff guy and
Yes.
tattoos and you know, rah 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 all the time.
Yes.
But then you'll see, you know, long hair, glasses, quiet, and you know, and they're like, oh yeah, I used to
Yeah.
jump out of airplanes and something. Like, oh, well, that's a
Yeah.
big change, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, when it comes to the women population, some of the female veteran
Yes.
population, you know, I've tried to do little aspects of programs as well. Like we've had cigar nights for women exclusively.
okay.
Civic engagement for their understanding about politics and stuff like that. You know,
Yes.
we don't try to be, you know, narrow it too small because you know you don't want to avoid anybody that wants to participate. You know,
Right.
you know, for us particularly, we try to be more broad. But if there's anything that we can try to facilitate or help in any way, we're happy. Do you have a name for the program? Do you want to give some information
Yes.
how you can
It's
reach on that?
it's called the Female Veterans Club, and it's a healing space focused on women who have experienced military sexual trauma. Now, that's not exclusive. Other women are invited, but there will be a special focus on that because I've noticed a lot of them coming in with that trauma of being abused while they're in the service by, you know, their superiors. And so we have a boxing lady who is named Lysandra, let me get her full name, Velasquez, and we call her La Nena. And she said that she would be willing to do boxing therapy with the women, which is a great release for anxiety and being able to knock out a guy if he wants to bother them, you know. So we're looking forward to, partnering with her in that. And if you are interested in supporting this initiative, you can also contact me at that same information that I gave out because this is something that we really want to push because there's a great need for it.
Would you give that information again, please?
Yes, 347-340-1313. And the email address is dmjred@yahoo.com.
And for those that don't know La Nena, she is I don't want to say it wrong because I don't want to get hit, but I know she's a 2-time Golden Globe and 1 silver. It's either one or the reverse, so don't get mad at La Nena
Yes.
on that. And I'm proud to say that I've taken a few hits from her during our sparring sessions for events that we've held with her as well.
Yes.
Great individual. She's actually one of the original members that we filmed for Vet Talk
Oh, wonderful.
back in the day. So
Yes.
that's it's a precursor to our Political Chit Chat here. But you know, it's good to see the growth, and
Absolutely.
I'm glad to see that there's a program specifically like this going on.
Yes.
Because there are programs like this, but you know, we have to get more specific. Not everybody wants to go, let's say, to a veteran facility or a
Absolutely.
medical facility.
That's right.
So having it outside of that environment is an
Yes,
important thing.
absolutely.
Because you know, and not to be negative with the VA or anything. You know, if you're going into, let's say, a vet center, everybody knows what's going on in there.
Absolutely.
And then when you go into the veteran hospital, then you have that hospital setting there.
Yes.
And it's maybe, you know, and you know, having a comforting person who's familiar and the background with it, without that rah-rah environment,
Yes.
can also be very easygoing.
Yeah.
So I thank you for pushing something like that out. Once again, anything that we can do to help,
Thank you.
we'd be happy to help with that. Now, for time constraint, is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to bring up?
I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover, just mainly expecting a wonderful turnout at the Water Walkers community feeding event. Yeah.
If you don't mind, if I bring up very quickly, you talked about your father, and you briefly talked about your brother.
Yes.
Would you go a little bit more into his background so I can know why we honored him last year?
Yes. My brother went in at, I believe, the age of 19, and he served all the way up into becoming a Master Gunnery Sergeant. That is a top rank Semper Fi, oorah, all the way. Yes. And he really exhibited all of the core attributes of a Marine, being very loyal and always giving back. And so without even accepting a dime from anyone, he was working diligently at the VA, helping all the veterans get their 100%, you know, and if they offered to pay him, he would say no. You know, just being that type of person where I remember one of his friends calling and saying he was hungry, and he was like, I got to go in a cab and go feed him. And this is just the top of the iceberg, which I hope I don't break down, is when he was on his deathbed, he looked up and he said, make sure Mike has money for lunch on his deathbed. You know, that heart of a Marine. So he was just an incredible person, and I miss him dearly, but I thank God for giving him to me as a brother. He was a great example.
Now, I'm just going to go over this one more time. This Saturday, October 11th, from 2 to 5, there's going to be a Water Workers free food event hosted and presented by the Meet Me at the Crossroads. You know, the location again is 14 West 170th Street in the Bronx.
Yes.
I know I'm going to do my best to make it there. We already know that there's going to be wonderful food out there.
Oh, yes.
There's going to be ministry. There's going to be an open setting for individuals that want to come out.
Yes.
And you know, once again, this is something I think that I would like to see more of.
Oh, yes.
Especially not just during the holidays.
There you go.
Because when we're trying to get something like Thanksgiving, which is a great time and it's a beautiful setting, you know, we kind of all are a little too busy.
Yes.
You know, we're trying to make plans to move and leave. You know, to visit family in other areas.
Yes.
So it's a constraint, and you know, if we can help, and obviously I know this is going to go great.
Yes.
But if we can help in the future to expand this in any way, you know, I would love to.
Yes.
And for those that are interested, for helping in different ways, there's sponsorship.
Absolutely.
There's food that you can donate. Would you let them know one more time how they can reach you?
Yes, at 347-340-1313 and dmjred@yahoo.com. We're also expecting some local officials to come, but until I get it written in stone, I can't say yet. But there are some people that's supposed to show up.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
And you know what? We'll try to get this circulated so that maybe we can get some people fire under them to
That's
move a little
right. That's
faster.
right.
Well, besides that, I like to say that I'm glad you're back here.
Yes.
I'd like to have you on again sooner rather than later.
Yes.
And we've been proud to see you grow as an organization.
Thank
Did
you.
you originally start as a ministry, or was it more of a veteran nonprofit or youth?
Actually, it definitely started as a ministry, but it was geared towards youth. That's how I started. And then it immediately went into the veterans very quickly. But I originally started when it was for youth, from 13 and up. But it expanded to the veterans.
Because I remember the camping. I love the camping. The kids going out to camping.
Inspire.
Yeah.
Yes, that was awesome. And that's something that I really would love to do each and every year, but we really need support in that area because it costs.
Yes.
It doesn't cost the families, but it costs us,
And Meeting at the Crossroads is a nonprofit.
Absolutely.
So once again, the information that you were given, there are different ways how you can support, sponsor,
Yes.
and help out. And
No.
there's many different ways. Obviously, dollar amounts are important.
Yes.
But there's also other ways that providing a facility,
Absolutely.
helping with staffing and volunteering and different things like that. Or people don't understand, it's tax deductible.
Yes,
So
it is.
keep that in mind. It
That's
helps
right.
when the taxes come season, saying that you help
Yes.
a nonprofit doesn't hurt you too bad.
And on the website, you'll see there's several ways that you can, support, which would be purchasing the book. Also, I'm connected to a jewelry website where if you like costume jewelry, you can order that online, and that will help with the commissions also. And as he said, volunteering. People don't realize that their presence means so much.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Well, everyone, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. Diane, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
If you'd like to be a guest on Political Chit Chat, please feel free to email me at gonzaloduranynyc@gmail.com. And you can feel free to reach out by calling at 516-515-0240. To get to know me better, feel free to check out my social media. All of them are at Gonzalo Duran NYC. So until then, and as always, God bless you and God bless America. Hello everyone, this is Political Chit Chat and I'm your host Gonzalo Duran. I look forward to talking to you about local and global politics with local politicians, activists, and community leaders. Check us out on Manhattan Neighborhood Network on Tuesdays at 8:30 on the community channels. If you'd like to be a guest, feel free to email me at gonzaloduranynyc@gmail.com. If you'd like to get to know me better, feel free to check out my social media at Gonzalo Duran NYC. Until then, and as always, God bless you and God bless America.